Welcome into OutKick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis, letting you know we're going to do the fade with Kelly Stewart right after this program. It will be out on Thursday, as it always is. Gambling-focused college football and the NFL. I don't know if Kelly did better or worse than me. She had to do better than I did in college football. I was okay in the NFL, but I was a disaster in college football. We'll talk about the college football universe, but I want to start off telling you PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. With PrizePicks, you against the number. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. All right, I got my picks for you. Free square. This is one that even I cannot lose. Caleb Williams going to get at least 1 passing yard, all right? This is a free square. This is my gift to you. This is PrizePicks' gift to you. Cannot lose on Caleb Williams to get at least 1 passing yard, all right? Tonight's game between the Jets and the Patriots. Patriot defense has been pretty solid. I think we're going to see a low-scoring, low offensive output kind of night. So I have got Jacoby Brissett for less than 164.5 passing yards. I've got Aaron Rodgers for less than 213.5 passing yards. And I've got Greg Zuerlein, field goal kicker for the Jets. Make sure he's healthy. I don't need a field goal kicker out. I've got him for more than 1.5 field goals, okay? If I am right on those 4, and we know I'm right on Caleb Williams, if I hit on the other 3, less on Jacoby Brissett, less on Aaron Rodgers, and more on the field goals from Zuerlein, you will 10 times your money. That's a nice little payout, okay? So that is the pick. And right now, if you play a $5 pick, you get $50 if you just go sign up right now, code OutKick. Again, download the PrizePicks app, use the code OutKick. You get $50 right off the top when you play $5, and you get $50 if you use the code OutKick. And by the way, if you hate me, if you think I am the biggest moron that has ever existed in the history of mankind, you can take the opposite side, take the different picks than me, and you can win 10 times your money by just saying, Clay Travis, you're a moron. I disagree with everything you say. What a huge win. Soon, based on dinner last night with the PrizePicks team, you're going to be able to go into PrizePicks. You're going to see my bright, shiny face. You will see my pick on the app, and you will be able to say, I'm with Clay, or I think Clay's a moron. Either direction, you get $50. PrizePicks.com. Use the code OutKick. All right. Let's start with a bunch of different things that are going on. I saw this, I want to reemphasize, on the college football landscape, biggest game going on this weekend. I would say there's 2 really kind of big college football games. Tennessee going on the road against Oklahoma, Utah going on the road against Oklahoma State. And I know SC is going on the road against Michigan, so maybe we would point to those 3 and say that those 3 are the biggest games. I love Tennessee, which I think is the biggest game here. I think Tennessee's going to win by double figures. And as I told you yesterday, Blood Bank guarantee, Tennessee Volunteers to cover the -7.5. This is Josh Heupel's revenge game. Oklahoma kicked him to the curb. They fired him. They said, we're not interested in you anymore. He's coming back with a vengeance. And if Tennessee wins this game, the Vols are going to be set to make the playoff because there's only 2 more top 25 teams left on their schedule. And presuming they don't fall flat against Arkansas or Mississippi State or Florida or Kentucky or Vanderbilt, then you just have Georgia down in Athens. Admittedly, massively difficult game that Tennessee will be a big underdog in. Expect them to lose that one. But then you get Alabama and Knoxville. And as long as Tennessee can keep Nico healthy, I think Tennessee has a very good chance to beat Alabama and Knoxville. But even if they lost to Alabama and Georgia, I think 10-2 would get Tennessee into the playoff. 11-1, if you beat Oklahoma and then split Georgia and Alabama and don't have any bad losses, 11-1 probably gets you a decent chance into the SEC championship game. Because I think it's unlikely there will be an undefeated team in the SEC. I could be wrong. I think 11-1 will be the best record that anybody has in the SEC, so that would put you in the mix. Speaking of the SEC, I saw this news come down. Arch Manning is going to start against Louisiana Monroe this weekend. Arch went for over 220 yards passing, 9-12, ran 67 yards for a touchdown. And I actually saw this stat and I flagged it because I thought it was so fascinating. And I wanted to make sure I hit you guys with it. This is pretty intriguing for Arch Manning. And let me see if I can find my Arch Manning stat. Arch Manning has already basically run for more yards than Peyton or Eli did in their college careers, which is tough to pull out, right? A tough position to be able to find yourself in, that Arch Manning has already demonstrated that he's more like Archie Manning, his grandfather, than he is Peyton or Eli. Here it is. First of all, Arch hit 21 miles per hour in his run, his long sprint, threw for 223 yards, 4 touchdowns. Here is the stat that I thought was super interesting. In the time that Peyton and Eli played, they had 18 rushing touchdowns for a total of 47 combined yards. So none of them ever think about how crazy that is. 18 combined rushing touchdowns for uncles Peyton and Eli. And that totaled completely 47 yards. Already Arch has a longer touchdown total yardage than either of his uncles did in their entire college careers, and both of those guys played for a really, really long time. I just thought that was worth kind of flagging in general because I thought it was a super interesting stat. Wanted to mention this too. Last weekend, really super fascinating. The SEC on ESPN and ABC is coming out and dominating in the ratings. I flagged this too. Georgia, Kentucky had 6.6 million viewers. It was the most watched college football game. That is the primetime on ABC game. Alabama, Wisconsin was on Fox. I was at that game. Noon Eastern was the second most watched game. LSU, Florida, nearly 5 million viewers on ABC. Texas A&M, Florida, nearly 5 million viewers on ABC. Guys, the SEC triple header on ABC is becoming a ratings monster. Because what I think they are finding out is, first of all, SEC football fans are diehards. But when you stack one game after another, a lot of people are like me. Instead of making you have to put on CBS at 3:30 Eastern for the big SEC game with basically no lead-in, when they're putting the game on in prime time in the evenings after having back-to-back SEC games in advance, the numbers they're going to be getting for these games are going to be monstrous. Next week, Georgia, Alabama, I'm going to be down in Tuscaloosa. That is going to be, I think, over 10 million viewers. And that is starting to build incredible numbers. The other thing that jumped out to me was the Colorado bubble. Remember, there are a lot of people who were really interested in watching Colorado play last year. It's basically popped. Only 3 million people watched Colorado State in primetime on CBS. That bubble, again, it is kind of burst, and I think it's going to become even more substantial going forward in terms of its collapse. Wanted to hit you with this. Well, let me shift right now to polling. Tons of polls came out. And obviously, this race appears it's going to come down to Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. A lot of these polls have come out now in Pennsylvania, which I think is the most important of all the states out there. And Real Political Data went back and looked at all of the polls at this exact time of year in 2020 of Pennsylvania, which ended up decided, Adam, look up the full 80,000 votes, I believe, ended up deciding Pennsylvania. Around 1 percentage point, Trump ended up losing Pennsylvania by a very slim margin. Listen to what the polls looked like in 2020 as we got ready at this time of year for Joe Biden going up against Donald Trump. The Emerson poll, and this is Real Political Data, has put all these together. I'm reading off of their Twitter feed at Real P Data, if you want to follow them or see this for yourself. Emerson had the Democrat Joe Biden +5. Right now, Emerson has it Republican +1. So that is a 6-point swing. Marist in 2020 had Joe Biden +9 at this point in time. Right now, Marist has it dead even. Insider Advantage had Biden +3. Right now, they have it Republican +2. Quinnipiac, at this exact time in 2020, had it as Democrat +8. Right now, they have it as Democrat Kamala +5. New York Times had it as Biden +9. Right now, they have it as Kamala +4. Suffolk had it as Democrat +7. They did have it as, right now, they have it as Kamala +3. CBS News had it Biden +7. Right now, they have it tied. Trafalgar had it as Democrat +2. Right now, they have it as Republican +2. And CNN had it as Democrat +10 in 2020. Right now, they have it as tied. The numbers in all of those polls are substantially in Trump's favor compared to where they were in 2020 at this exact time. And Trump ended up only losing Pennsylvania by 1. Why do I bring all this up? Right now, Trump is in a better position than he ever was in 2020. And he's in a better position than he ever was, by and large, in 2016, according to the polls. If the polls are accurate, Trump's going to win, because they have consistently undercounted Trump's support in both 2016 and 2020. And so if they're inaccurate against Trump again, this race may not even end up being very close. But even if they're accurate right now, Trump is in a much better position than he ever has been in the past. And that ties in with the decision we mentioned yesterday with the Teamsters. The Teamsters decided they're not going to give an endorsement to the Democrat. Adam, you can confirm that I'm right about this. I think I'm correct, that is the first time there hasn't been a Democrat endorsement since 1988 for the Teamsters. Not only did they not endorse, they also came out and said Trump is winning based on our internal polls, union voters, 60-40. Now, I don't think there's that many people that are going to change their minds. But if you look at that data, Joe Biden was actually very popular relative to a Democrat with high school educated men who work with their hands, who build things, who work in factories. They were able to do pretty well, Joe Biden was. I don't think those people are voting for Kamala. And I actually think that Trump is going to win Pennsylvania, and whichever candidate wins Pennsylvania is probably going to win the presidency. And right now, I would say Trump is in a phenomenal spot to win Pennsylvania. Again, my route to the presidency is if Trump wins Georgia, Atlanta Journal-Constitution had him up 3. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. and he wins North Carolina, then all he has to do, and I think Trump's going to win both, then all he has to do is win Pennsylvania, and he's going to be winning the 2024 presidency. I think it's interesting to compare past and present when it comes to how these things break out. This is Tom Bevan at Real Clear Politics. Hold on, let me take a sip. And Tom Bevan at Real Clear Politics, yes, first time in nearly 3 decades the Teamsters haven't endorsed a Democrat. Since people are asking, 2020, the final Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll in Georgia had Biden up 1 point. The final result was Biden won by 0.3, super close race in Georgia, okay? So the Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll in 2020 was very accurate. In 2016, the final Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll was Trump +2. Trump ended up winning Georgia by 5.1. So it undercounted Trump's support a little bit in both of those years. Right now, Trump is up 3 in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll. Now, still a little bit over 6 weeks out. Some of you are going to start voting early. I've said that I'm voting early. I am voting for Trump. I'm going to try and vote on October 16th. Very first day of early voting in the great state of Tennessee where I live. I'm going to get my ballot in early. The data reflects that getting your vote in early allows the party that you prefer to spend more time and resources chasing less likely voters. It also takes out of the equation, I love to vote and historically have voted on Election Day, but if you're like me and you got a bunch of kids, maybe you wake up sick on Election Day. Maybe your kids are sick. If you live in Wisconsin or Michigan or Pennsylvania, maybe you get an early ice storm. Maybe you get bad weather somewhere in your location and you're just not able to go. Maybe you got grandma or grandpa with getting sick, your parents getting sick. There's so many different things that can happen. I'm going to bank my vote early, and I'm going to allow people to focus on trying to get out others to make sure that they vote. So that is the latest data point out there. I don't know how many of you watched Donald Trump with Greg Gutfeld on last night. I was out for dinner with PrizePicks, like I said. Thank you, by the way. You guys are supporting PrizePicks like crazy. They're signed up all the way through the end of 2025 now because you guys have been playing PrizePicks and such responsive partners with them. So thank you. But we were out to dinner, came back home, got ready for bed. My wife had on Gutfeld. Trump was one of the 4 panelists there. I don't know how many of you watch Fox News on a regular basis. I've done the Gutfeld panel quite a bit. I like Kat Temp. I like Tyrus. They also had Emily Campagno on last night. I would encourage all of you to go watch Trump on Gutfeld and ask yourself, could Kamala Harris even do this? Could she go off script, sit on a panel of 4, and have a normal interaction? I think the answer is no. And I shared this tweet, and I do believe it is reflective of what they are trying to do. They are clearly trying to hide Kamala Harris. And when I say they're trying to hide Kamala Harris, what does that mean? It means that they are limiting how much interaction she is going to have with the media on an historic level, the likes of which we have never seen before. A couple of things that I want to hit you on. I'm going to talk about New York polling here in a moment, but this is from Axios, and I shared this. You can go look it up yourself. TV and print interviews by presidential ticket since July 21st, 2024, when Kamala was elevated as the nominee when Joe Biden dropped out. Trump has done 14 different TV and print interviews and/or press conferences. J.D. Vance has done 59. Basically, J.D. Vance has talked to everybody on the planet. Kamala Harris has done 3. Tim Walz has done 4. Axios went back and looked throughout all the history. They can't, even Joe Biden in 2020, when they hit him in the basement and blamed COVID, even he did more. Why is this? Because they know the more Kamala talks, the less people like her. So make no mistake what they are trying to do. They are trying to hide her and make people not aware of how awful she is, and they are trying to keep her out of larger discussion. A couple of other points I want to hit you on the deluge of polls that came out this morning. New York poll, Kamala Harris up 13, 55 to 42. Why is that significant? Joe Biden won New York by 23 points in 2020. A lot of movement towards Trump. If Kamala only wins New York by 13, that would suggest that she is in trouble in lots of other places, whether it's New Hampshire, whether it's Virginia, that were decided by 10 or less points in 2020, because it would suggest she's running substantially behind the numbers that Joe Biden posted. What else stands out to me? This poll, this Siena Research poll in New York, has Trump winning Jewish voters 54 to 44. The most dishonest attack of Trump among them all is the idea that somehow he's Adolf Hitler. What an upset it would be. Jewish voters in New York are voting for Trump. That's a pretty good sign that they don't buy these media allegations about Trump being a dictator and being Adolf Hitler. It's all ridiculous. Also, Kamala and Biden don't even believe it, because if they did, every time somebody tries to kill Trump, they wouldn't call him and wish him their best. That is absolutely insane. Also, it's important for you to recognize this story came out yesterday afternoon. Iran has been trying to hack the Trump campaign and share information they got from that hacking with the Biden-Kamala campaign. Sometimes it's important to think about who is actually in favor of Kamala. Iran wants Kamala to win because they got a sweetheart deal with Barack Obama back in the day. Iran is funding all of Hamas. They're funding all of Hezbollah. Israel would vote for Trump. Iran would vote for Kamala. Sometimes who the foreign powers are allied with should make you question what exactly is going on. Iran is our mortal foe in the Middle East. They are allied with Kamala Harris. Israel is our ally. I stand with Israel. I think most of you do, in their right to defend themselves, whether it's by blowing up pagers, whether it's by blowing up walkie-talkies, whether it's by responding to the Hamas attack of October 7th. All of that, I think, is super significant and worthy of paying attention to. All right, about to dive out here. Going to do a sports gambling focused show, The Fade with Kelly Stewart, which will be a little bit later up. Again, my PrizePicks pick, use the code OutKick. Caleb Williams, more than one passing yard. Jacoby Brissett, less than 164 passing yards. Aaron Rodgers, less than 213 and a half passing yards. And Greg Zuerlein, more than 1.5 field goals. If those hit, you get a 10-1 payout. If you think that I'm a complete moron and it's going to fail, then you can take the exact opposite of me, accept the free square with Caleb Williams, which you should take, and then you get a 10-1 payout too. Ain't life grand? PrizePicks.com, code OutKick. I will see you guys on The Fade here shortly. College football, NFL. Let's get you ready for the big weekend. And also, by the way, I'm about to go do the Daily Wire sports show. Should be fun, Crane and Company. And then I'm going to watch my 14-year-old play 8th grade football. Love all of you. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP.